Marcus Chen adjusted his diplomatic collar for the third time in 5 minutes, watching the massive doors of the Crossroads Station's main hall slide open with a soft hiss. The neutral meeting ground floated in the void between 3 star systems, its gleaming metal corridors filled with delegates from dozens of species. Tonight's dinner was supposed to be simple. Representatives from the Veltarion Empire, the Zephyrian Collective, and the Human Colonial Alliance would share a meal, exchange pleasantries, and hopefully avoid starting another interstellar incident. The former Marine turned diplomat had attended dozens of these gatherings over the past 2 years, but something felt different tonight. The air recyclers hummed with unusual tension, and conversations stopped when he walked past alien delegates. Marcus had learned to read the subtle signs of interspecies politics, and every instinct told him trouble was brewing. The main dining hall stretched out before him like a cathedral of chrome and glass, with tables arranged in careful geometric patterns that respected the cultural preferences of each species. Zephyrians preferred elevated seating that mimicked their mountain homes, while the aquatic hydros required specialized water-filled environments. Humans, as always, adapted to whatever space remained. Marcus made his way toward the human delegation table, nodding politely to various alien representatives. Ambassador Rodriguez had briefed him extensively on tonight's attendees, with particular emphasis on avoiding any cultural missteps that might derail the trade negotiations. The Veltarion Empire controlled shipping lanes through 7 sectors, and humanity desperately needed access to those routes to supply their outer colonies. The Veltarians themselves were impossible to miss. 7 feet tall with 4 muscular arms and natural bone plating that served as armor, they moved through the crowd like living weapons. Their entire culture revolved around combat prowess and personal honor, making diplomatic relations particularly delicate. One wrong word or gesture could be interpreted as a challenge, and Veltarion challenges were typically resolved through single combat to the death. Marcus was reviewing the evening's seating arrangements on his datapad when disaster struck in the most mundane way possible. A serving drone malfunctioned, spilling a tray of exotic fruits across the main walkway. Marcus stepped sideways to avoid the mess directly into the path of Princess Zixandra, the Veltarion Empire's chief military advisor and daughter of their supreme war leader. The collision was minor by human standards. Marcus bumped her shoulder, steadied himself, and immediately began apologizing. But Princess Zixandra's 4 eyes blazed with fury, and her bone plating shifted color from deep purple to angry crimson. The dining hall fell silent as every conversation stopped mid-sentence. "You dare strike a daughter of the war leader?" Princess Zixandra's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to absolute obedience. Her forearms flexed, revealing muscles that could crush steel. "In the presence of allied representatives, you assault my person without provocation?" Marcus felt his diplomatic training kick in, suppressing the Marine's instinct to meet aggression with aggression. "Your Highness, I sincerely apologize. The collision was purely accidental. I was avoiding the spilled fruit and failed to notice your approach. Please accept my deepest regrets for any offense caused." The apology might have worked with most species, but Veltarion honor culture operated by different rules. Princess Zixandra's secondary arms reached for the ceremonial blades at her waist, and Marcus realized the situation was spinning beyond diplomatic control. "Accident or intention matters not," she declared, her voice carrying to every corner of the now silent hall. "You have struck me. Honor demands satisfaction. I challenge you to single combat, human diplomat. Face me in the circle, or your species will be marked as cowards before all assembled here." Marcus felt the weight of dozens of alien gazes pressing down on him. Ambassador Rodriguez looked pale behind the human delegation table, probably calculating how many trade agreements would collapse if this went wrong. The Zephyrian representatives whispered among themselves with obvious excitement, while the hydros bubbled nervously in their water tanks. Refusing the challenge would indeed mark humanity as cowardly in the eyes of warrior cultures, potentially destroying years of careful diplomatic progress. But accepting meant facing a 7-foot alien warrior with 4 arms, natural armor, and centuries of combat training. Marcus had been out of active military service for 5 years, spending his time in conference rooms rather than training grounds. I accept your challenge, Your Highness, Marcus heard himself say, surprised by the steadiness of his own voice. When and where do you wish to settle this matter? Princess Zixandra's bone plating shifted to a satisfied orange, and she gestured toward a clear area at the center of the dining hall. Now, here, let all witnesses see how Veltarian honor is satisfied. The alien delegates quickly rearranged themselves around the impromptu arena, some climbing onto tables for better views. Marcus noticed credits changing hands as betting pools formed among species that enjoyed wagering on violence. The smart money was obviously on the princess. Marcus began removing his diplomatic jacket, rolling up his sleeves with practiced efficiency. The familiar routine of preparing for combat brought back muscle memories from his Marine days, but 5 years of desk work had taken their toll. He was still in decent shape for a 42-year-old human, but decent shape meant nothing against a genetically superior alien warrior. Tell me, human, Princess Zixandra called out as she removed her own ceremonial robes, revealing the full extent of her impressive physique. Do you have any final words before I demonstrate why the Veltarian Empire has conquered 17 star systems? Marcus stretched his shoulders, working out the kinks from too many hours spent hunched over diplomatic reports. Just one question, Your Highness. Are we fighting to first blood, unconsciousness, or death? The princess laughed, a sound like grinding metal that somehow managed to convey genuine amusement. I like your spirit, little diplomat. First blood will suffice. I have no desire to create a diplomatic incident over such a minor offense. As Marcus pulled his shirt over his head, preparing for combat, Princess Zixandra's laughter died in her throat. Her 4 eyes locked onto his left shoulder, and her bone plating shifted rapidly through several colors before settling on a pale, shocked white. The confident warrior who had been preparing to demonstrate her superiority suddenly looked like she had seen a ghost. Impossible, she whispered in her native tongue, the word carrying clearly in the silent hall. Several other Veltarian delegates pushed closer, their own plating shifting to similar shades of shock and fear. Marcus followed her gaze to his shoulder, confused by the reaction. The tattoo there was nothing special by human standards, just a complex design he had gotten 3 years ago to honor his daughter's memory. It incorporated the constellation visible from his hometown on Earth, his old Marine unit's insignia, and some geometric patterns that Emma had drawn during her time on Kepler 442b before the colony attack. Where did you get that mark? Princess Zixandra demanded, her voice now carrying undertones of something that sounded almost like fear. Answer me, human. Where did you acquire the mark of the Voidwalker? Marcus had no idea what she was talking about. It's just a tattoo, Your Highness. Personal significance only. I had it done to remember my daughter after she died in the Kepler colony attack. The princess stepped back, and Marcus noticed that several other alien delegates were now staring at him with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright terror. Whatever they thought they recognized in his tattoo was clearly significant, but he had no understanding of what it might mean to alien cultures. The mark of the Voidwalker, Princess Zixandra repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. The sign of those who walk between stars, who survive where others perish, who bring either salvation or destruction to all they encounter. Marcus looked around the silent dining hall, noting how the atmosphere had shifted from anticipation of violence to something much more complex and frightening. Whatever had just happened, he was certain that his simple diplomatic mission had just become infinitely more complicated. The dining hall remained frozen in an unnatural silence as Princess Zixandra circled Marcus like a predator studying unexpected prey. Her bone plating continued shifting between pale white and deep purple, colors that Marcus had learned indicated confusion and fear among her species. The other Veltarian delegates pressed closer, their own armor displaying similar emotional responses. Marcus kept his hands visible and non-threatening, but his mind raced through possible explanations for their reaction. The tattoo on his shoulder was personal, meaningful only to him and the memory of his daughter Emma. He had commissioned it from a human artist on New Geneva Station, incorporating elements that represented the most important parts of his life. The constellation Orion had been visible from his childhood home in Oregon. The Marine insignia honored his 20 years of service before joining the diplomatic corps. The geometric patterns were Emma's drawings, copied exactly from the sketches she had made during her final months on Kepler 442b. You claim ignorance of the mark's significance, Princess Zixandra said, her voice carefully controlled but still carrying an edge of suspicion. Yet you bear the complete symbol, perfectly rendered according to the ancient texts. Tell me again how you acquired this design. Marcus glanced around the room, noting how representatives from other species were now paying attention to the conversation. The Zephyrian delegates had stopped their usual chattering and were listening intently, while several hydros had moved closer to the edge of their tanks. Even species that normally showed little interest in Veltarian culture seemed fascinated by the unfolding situation. As I said, Your Highness, it's a memorial tattoo for my daughter, Marcus replied, forcing himself to speak slowly and clearly despite the growing tension. She died 3 years ago when our colony on Kepler 442b was attacked. The patterns she drew were among her personal belongings that we recovered after the assault. Princess Zixandra exchanged rapid words with her fellow Veltarians in their native language, too fast for Marcus's translation implant to follow completely. He caught fragments about ancient prophecies and impossible coincidences, but the full meaning remained unclear. Kepler 442b, the princess repeated, her plating shifting to a deeper shade of purple. You said your daughter made these drawings on Kepler 442b. What was she doing there? Why was a human child creating symbols from our oldest religious texts? Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. Religious texts? Your Highness, I don't understand. Emma was 8 years old. She spent time exploring the old ruins near our settlement and liked to copy the patterns she found carved in the stones. She said they were pretty and reminded her of flowers or stars. The reaction among the Veltarion delegates was immediate and dramatic. Their bone plating shifted to deep red, a color Marcus recognized as indicating extreme agitation or fear. Princess Zixandra stepped back several paces, her 4 hands moving instinctively toward her weapons. The ruins on Kepler 442b, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Human child, you speak of ruins that should not exist. That world was surveyed by our exploration teams 2 centuries ago. We found no evidence of previous civilization. Marcus felt the pieces of a larger puzzle beginning to form in his mind, though he couldn't yet see the complete picture. The ruins were discovered about 4 years ago by our initial survey team. They were partially buried, hidden beneath sediment layers. Our archaeologists estimated they were at least 50,000 years old, possibly older. The princess began pacing, in a tight circle, her agitation growing more visible with each step. 50,000 years, she muttered. The timing matches, the location matches, but how could humans find what our best explorers missed? One of the other Veltarian delegates spoke up, his voice carrying the authority of age and rank. Princess, perhaps it would be wise to continue this discussion in private chambers. The implications of what we are hearing require careful consideration. Marcus nodded his agreement. I would welcome the opportunity to understand what has caused such concern. If my daughter's drawings have some significance to your culture, I would like to learn more about their meaning. Princess Zixandra studied him for a long moment, her 4 eyes searching his face as if trying to detect deception. Very well, human diplomat. We will adjourn to my private quarters. But understand that what you learn there may change how you see your own species forever. The crowd of alien spectators began to disperse, though Marcus noticed many lingering nearby and speaking in hushed tones. Ambassador Rodriguez approached him with obvious concern written across her features. Marcus, what the hell is going on? She asked quietly. 1 minute you're about to fight an alien princess and now she's inviting you for private conversations. What's so special about your tattoo? Marcus shook his head. I honestly don't know, Sarah, but I think it has something to do with Emma and those ruins on Kepler. Give me some time to sort this out, and I'll brief you as soon as I understand. What's happening? The ambassador looked like she wanted to argue, but she had worked with Marcus long enough to trust his judgment in unusual situations. Just be careful, Marcus. Veltarian honor culture is complicated, and we can't afford to make this situation worse. Princess Zixandra led Marcus through the station's corridors to a section reserved for high-ranking diplomatic guests. Her quarters were larger than most apartments, decorated with weapons and battle honors that spoke of a warrior's life. The walls displayed star charts and tactical displays that Marcus recognized as showing Veltarian territorial boundaries. "Sit," the princess commanded, gesturing to a chair designed for human proportions. She remained standing, her imposing height allowing her to look down at him even from several feet away. "Before I explain what your tattoo means to my people, I need to know more about these ruins your daughter explored. Describe them to me in detail." Marcus closed his eyes, calling up memories that still caused him pain 3 years later. The ruins covered about 2 square kilometers near our main settlement. Most of the structures were underground, carved directly into the bedrock. The architecture was unlike anything our xenoarchaeologists had seen before. Circular chambers, connected by spiraling tunnels with symbols carved deep into every surface. "What kind of symbols?" Princess Zixandra asked, her voice tense with anticipation. "Geometric patterns, star charts, what looked like technical diagrams for advanced machinery," Marcus replied. Emma was fascinated by them. She spent hours in the ruins with the research teams copying the symbols into her sketchbook. She said they told stories about people who could fly between stars without ships. Princess Zixandra's plating shifted to pure white, and she sank into a chair opposite Marcus. "People who could fly between stars without ships," she repeated. "Your daughter was copying legends of the Void Walkers, the mythical beings from our oldest religious texts." Marcus leaned forward, his diplomatic training taking over despite his personal curiosity. "Tell me about these Void Walkers, Your Highness. Help me understand why my daughter's innocent drawings have caused such a reaction." The princess was quiet for several minutes, apparently struggling with how to explain something that challenged her fundamental understanding of the galaxy. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the weight of ancient fears and terrible possibilities. "According to our oldest prophecies, the Void Walkers were beings of immense power, who could survive in the vacuum of space itself. They traveled between worlds without ships, appeared in systems without warning, and possessed technology that seemed like magic to lesser species. The prophecies say they vanished 50,000 years ago, but that they would return when the galaxy faced its greatest peril." Marcus felt his heart rate increasing as implications began forming in his mind. "And you think my tattoo marks me as one of these Void Walkers?" Princess Zixandra met his gaze with all 4 eyes. "I think, human diplomat, that your species may be far more dangerous than any of us realized. Your Highness, with respect, I think there's been a misunderstanding," Marcus said carefully. "Humans are a young species. We've only been traveling between stars for about 200 years. We certainly can't survive in space without protection, or fly between worlds without ships." Princess Zixandra rose from her chair and moved to one of the wall displays, activating a holographic projection that showed star charts spanning multiple sectors. "Tell me, Marcus Chen, how many human colonies exist today?" Marcus considered the question, wondering where she was leading. "Approximately 430 established settlements across 67 star systems, with another 100 colonies in various stages of development." The princess manipulated the holographic display, highlighting human settlements in red dots across the galaxy map. "In 200 years, your species has spread farther and faster than any other known civilization. The Veltarian Empire took 800 years to establish control over 17 systems. The Zephyrian Collective required 6 centuries to colonize 23 worlds. Yet humans have somehow managed to establish permanent settlements in environments that other species consider uninhabitable." Marcus felt uncomfortable under her scrutiny, but tried to maintain his diplomatic composure. "Humans are adaptable. We've developed advanced life support technology and genetic modification techniques that allow us to survive in hostile environments." "Adaptable," Princess Zixandra repeated, her tone suggesting she found the explanation insufficient. "Is that what you call establishing colonies on worlds with toxic atmospheres, extreme radiation levels, and gravitational fields that would crush most other species? Is adaptation why human rescue teams regularly survive in space for hours after their ships are destroyed while other species die within minutes?" The questions made Marcus uncomfortable because they touched on subjects that humans themselves didn't fully understand. Human colonial expansion had indeed been remarkably successful, often in ways that surprised their own scientists. There had been numerous incidents where human survivors had been found alive in conditions that should have killed them within minutes. "I need to tell you something about the attack on Kepler 442b, Marcus said, deciding that honesty might be the best approach, something that wasn't included in the official reports. Princess Zixandra's plating shifted to a more attentive blue color. "Continue." Marcus took a deep breath, preparing to share information that could potentially damage human diplomatic relations with multiple species. The attack wasn't unprovoked aggression against our colony. 3 days before the assault began, we received warning transmissions in 17 different languages, including Veltarian, demanding that all humans evacuate the planet immediately. The princess's 4 eyes widened in surprise. Warning: transmissions? This was not mentioned in any intelligence reports we received. "Because our colonial government classified the information to avoid panic," Marcus continued. "The transmissions claimed that humans had established their settlement on a sacred world that belonged to ancient beings called the First Ones. The warning stated that continued human presence on Kepler 442b would awaken something that had been sleeping for 50,000 years. Princess Zixandra began pacing again, her agitation growing more visible. "First Ones is another name for the Voidwalkers in some of our historical texts. You're telling me that multiple alien civilizations tried to warn humanity away from that world?" Marcus nodded grimly. 17 species sent the same basic message. They begged us to leave peacefully, offering to help relocate our colonists to other worlds at no cost. Our government dismissed the warnings as attempts to drive humans away from valuable territory. "And then the attacks began," the princess said, her voice heavy with new understanding. "The first wave consisted of surgical strikes against our excavation sites at the ruins," Marcus explained. "The attacking ships avoided populated areas and focused on destroying archaeological equipment and research facilities. It was only when human military forces engaged the attackers that the conflict escalated into full warfare." Princess Zixandra stopped pacing and fixed Marcus with an intense stare. "Your species refused to evacuate a world that multiple civilizations considered sacred, then fought back when they tried to prevent you from disturbing ancient sites. Yet you present this as an unprovoked attack on innocent colonists." Marcus felt heat rising in his cheeks, but he forced himself to continue the difficult conversation. "I'm not trying to justify our government's decisions, Your Highness. I'm trying to understand why my daughter's drawings have caused such fear among your people." The princess moved to another wall display, this one showing what appeared to be religious or historical artwork depicting tall humanoid figures surrounded by stars. The prophecies described the Voidwalkers as beings who would return when their sacred sites were disturbed. They would appear as a familiar species, but possess abilities that defied natural law. They would spread across the galaxy with impossible speed, establish colonies in uninhabitable places, and show a disturbing combination of compassion and ruthless determination in warfare. Marcus studied the artwork, noting similarities between the depicted figures and human proportions. "You're suggesting that humans are these returned void walkers?" "I'm suggesting that your species displays characteristics that match ancient prophecies with frightening accuracy," Princess Zixandra replied. "Tell me, Marcus Chen, how did you survive when the colony was attacked? The official reports state that you were off-world on a supply mission, but I sense there's more to the story." Marcus closed his eyes, remembering the worst day of his life. "I was returning from New Geneva Station when the attack began. My transport ship was damaged by debris from the initial orbital bombardment and lost life support. I spent 4 hours in a damaged suit, breathing recycled air that should have run out after 90 minutes before rescue ships found me." 4 hours in a failing life support system, the princess said quietly. "Most species would be dead within 1 hour under those conditions." "The rescue team said it was a miracle," Marcus continued. "They found me conscious and coherent, though by all medical calculations I should have suffocated or suffered severe brain damage from oxygen deprivation." Princess Zixandra activated another display, showing what appeared to be star charts, with annotations in multiple alien languages. These are the locations of archaeological sites that various civilizations consider sacred to the Voidwalkers. Notice anything interesting about their distribution? Marcus studied the map, feeling a chill as he recognized several star systems. Those are all locations where humans have established successful colonies. Some of our most prosperous settlements are built near these sites. 43 of your colonies are established within 50 light-years of known Voidwalker archaeological sites, the princess confirmed. In most cases, human survey teams discovered evidence of ancient civilization shortly after establishing permanent settlements. The implications were staggering. Marcus tried to maintain his diplomatic composure, but the evidence was becoming difficult to dismiss. Even if there are similarities between human expansion patterns and these ancient legends, that doesn't prove we're the same species. There could be other explanations. Princess Zixandra moved closer, her imposing height making her seem even more intimidating. Then explain this, human diplomat. Your daughter's drawings included star charts showing the locations of 17 Voidwalker sites that have never been publicly documented by any known civilization. How did an 8-year-old human child copy navigation charts for archaeological sites that exist only in the most classified alien historical records? Marcus felt the room spinning around him as the full implications hit home. Emma's innocent drawings weren't just pretty patterns copied from ruins. They were star maps leading to the most sacred and secret sites of multiple alien civilizations. I don't know, he whispered, his diplomatic training finally failing him. I don't know how she could have known about any of this. Princess Zixandra's plating shifted to a deep, ominous purple. Then perhaps it's time you learned the truth about what your species really is, and why half the galaxy fears your return. Princess Zixandra moved to a secured wall panel and pressed her palm against a scanner. The panel slid away to reveal a collection of ancient artifacts, each one carefully preserved behind energy shields. Marcus could see stone tablets covered in symbols, crystalline structures that seemed to glow with internal light, and metal objects whose purpose was unclear but whose age was evident from their weathered surfaces. What I am about to show you is known only to the highest levels of Veltarian leadership, the princess said, her voice carrying the weight of state secrets. For 50,000 years, my people have guarded these artifacts and the knowledge they contain. The truth about the Voidwalkers has shaped our entire civilization. She selected one of the stone tablets and placed it on a scanning device. Immediately, holographic projections filled the room, showing images of a galaxy very different from the one Marcus knew. Stars burned brighter, planets teemed with civilizations, and space itself seemed alive with activity. This is how the galaxy appeared 50,000 years ago, Princess Zixandra explained. Thousands of species had achieved interstellar travel. Trade routes connected every sector. Scientific advancement was accelerating at an incredible pace. It was a golden age of cooperation and discovery. The images shifted, showing darker scenes. Planets began going dark, their lights disappearing one by one. Fleet movements appeared on the star charts, but these weren't normal military formations. Something was moving through space in patterns that defied conventional understanding of physics and warfare. Then the Voidwalkers returned from whatever distant realm had hidden them, the princess continued. They appeared without warning in multiple systems simultaneously, moving through space without ships, surviving in conditions that killed other species instantly. At first, many civilizations welcomed them as advanced beings who might share their knowledge. Marcus watched the holographic display with growing unease. The figures depicted in the ancient records did look remarkably human in their basic proportions, though the image quality made detailed comparison difficult. What happened to change that? He asked, though part of him dreaded the answer. Princess Zixandra manipulated the controls, showing new images that made Marcus's blood run cold. Entire solar systems were going dark, not from conquest, but from something far worse. Planets were being stripped of their resources, their atmospheres drained away, their very matter somehow consumed or transformed. The Voidwalkers didn't conquer worlds in the traditional sense, the princess explained, her voice heavy with ancient fear. They consumed them. They could somehow absorb the life energy of entire planets, growing stronger with each world they drained. Species that had existed for millions of years were wiped out in mere decades. The holographic display showed desperate fleet movements as the remaining civilizations tried to coordinate a defense against an enemy that seemed to violate every natural law. Marcus saw tactical displays that reminded him uncomfortably of human military strategies characterized by adaptability, unpredictable movements, and a willingness to take casualties that other species considered unacceptable. The survivors formed the Great Alliance, Princess Zixandra continued. 27 species pooled their resources, technology, and military strength in a desperate attempt to stop the Voidwalkers before they consumed the entire galaxy. The war lasted 3,000 years and cost billions of lives. Marcus studied the battle records with professional interest, noting strategies and tactics that seemed oddly familiar despite their ancient origin. How did the Alliance finally defeat them? The princess activated another sequence, showing what appeared to be a massive coordinated assault across multiple star systems. They didn't defeat the Voidwalkers through superior strength or technology. They won through sacrifice and determination that matched their enemies' ruthlessness. The final battle took place in what is now called the Dead Zone, a region of space that remains uninhabitable even 50,000 years later. The images showed a cataclysmic event that seemed to tear space itself apart. Stars went dark, gravitational fields collapsed, and entire sectors became graveyards of twisted metal and dead worlds. The Alliance survivors believed they had achieved complete genocide, Princess Zixandra said. Every Voidwalker was thought dead, their technology destroyed, their threat ended forever. The few species that survived the war scattered across the galaxy, establishing new civilizations in the outer sectors where they hoped to rebuild. Marcus felt a chill as he began to understand where the story was leading. But the prophecies suggested they would return. Not return, the princess corrected grimly. Evolve. The prophecy stated that the Voidwalkers possessed an ability beyond simple regeneration. They could adapt to any environment, survive any catastrophe, and emerge from near extinction stronger than before. The seers predicted that survivors would scatter across the galaxy, their nature hidden even from themselves until something triggered their awakening. Princess Zixandra moved to another artifact, a crystalline device that began glowing when she approached it. The light it cast made her bone plating appear translucent, revealing the underlying biology that allowed her species to survive in hostile environments. This is a Voidwalker detection device, one of only 7 remaining in the galaxy, she explained. It responds to the specific energy patterns that ancient texts describe as the mark of their species. For 50,000 years, it has remained completely inactive. Marcus watched nervously as she lifted the device and pointed it in his direction. The crystal immediately blazed with brilliant light, so bright that he had to shield his eyes. When the glow finally subsided, Princess Zixandra was staring at him with a mixture of fear and fascination. The device hasn't responded this strongly to anything in recorded history, she said quietly. According to our technical specifications, a reading this intense indicates the presence of a fully awakened Voidwalker. Marcus felt his legs weaken and he sank back into his chair. That's impossible. I'm just a human diplomat. I've never displayed any supernatural abilities or consumed planets or done anything that matches your descriptions of these ancient beings. Haven't you? The princess challenged. You survived 4 hours in failing life support when any normal being would have died. Your species has colonized worlds that other civilizations consider uninhabitable. Humans display an almost supernatural ability to adapt to hostile environments and survive disasters that kill entire populations of other species. She moved closer, the detection device still glowing faintly in her hands. Tell me, Marcus Chen, have you ever wondered why human rescue operations are so successful? Why human soldiers can continue fighting after sustaining injuries that would incapacitate other species? Why human explorers regularly discover resources and archaeological sites that sophisticated alien surveys missed? Marcus tried to formulate an argument, but memories began flooding back. Countless stories of human survival against impossible odds. The legendary toughness of human military units. The unexplained success rate of human colonization efforts even in the most hostile environments. Even if humans are somehow connected to these ancient void walkers, he said desperately, we're clearly different now. We don't consume planets or destroy civilizations. We cooperate with other species, establish trade relationships, share scientific knowledge. Princess Zixandra set the detection device aside and faced him with all four eyes. The prophecies warned of exactly this possibility. They described the returned void walkers as beings who would appear benevolent, even helpful, while unconsciously following patterns that would eventually lead to galactic catastrophe. Your species spreads across the galaxy, establishes colonies near sacred sites, and grows stronger with each passing year. Marcus felt the weight of cosmic responsibility settling on his shoulders. What are you saying, Your Highness? The princess moved to her communication console and began entering commands. I'm saying, human diplomat, that the Great Alliance never truly ended. We've been watching for signs of Voidwalker return for 50,000 years, and now that those signs have appeared, we must decide whether to trust in human evolution or take preventive action to protect the galaxy. Marcus realized with growing horror that she was preparing to contact other alien civilizations, potentially triggering a coordinated response against all of humanity based on ancient fears and legends. Wait, he said, rising from his chair. Please give me a chance to prove that humans have truly changed. Let me show you that we can overcome our ancient nature. Princess Zixandra paused with her hand hovering over the communication controls, studying Marcus's desperate expression. The detection device continued glowing softly between them, its ancient technology responding to energies that neither fully understood. You ask for a chance to prove human evolution, she said slowly. But how does one prove the absence of destructive potential? How do we know that your benevolent nature is permanent rather than a temporary phase before awakening? Marcus felt the weight of his entire species' future pressing down on him. Everything he had learned about diplomacy, negotiation, and conflict resolution seemed inadequate for a situation of this magnitude. But somewhere in his memories of Emma's drawings and the ruins on Kepler 442b, he sensed there might be an answer. The detection device, he said, gesturing toward the glowing crystal. You said it responds to fully awakened voidwalkers. What if we could use it to test whether humans can resist their ancient nature when directly confronted with it? The princess's bone plating shifted to an intrigued orange color. Explain your proposal, human diplomat. Marcus took a deep breath, formulating a plan that could either save humanity or prove their inherent danger. You have other Voidwalker artifacts in your collection. What if you exposed me to their direct influence? If I'm truly a descendant of these ancient beings, the artifacts should trigger some kind of response. If I can resist that influence and choose cooperation over destruction, wouldn't that prove human evolution is real? Princess Zixandra moved closer to her artifact collection, her four eyes studying the various relics with obvious concern. The risk is enormous, Marcus Chen. If exposure to genuine Voidwalker technology triggers an awakening, you could become the very threat we've feared for 50,000 years. The power contained in these artifacts destroyed entire civilizations. And if we don't test this theory, you'll contact the Great Alliance and potentially trigger a war that could destroy humanity based on fear rather than fact, Marcus replied. At least this way we'll know the truth. The princess was quiet for several minutes, weighing options that could determine the fate of the galaxy. Finally, she moved to the most heavily shielded artifact in her collection, a metallic sphere covered in the same geometric patterns that Emma had drawn in her sketchbook. This is a Voidwalker navigation device, she explained, her voice heavy with apprehension. According to our historical records, it was used to guide their kind between star systems without ships. If anything would trigger an awakening in a descendant, it would be direct contact with this technology. Marcus nodded, trying to project more confidence than he felt. What do I need to do? Princess Zixandra deactivated the energy shield protecting the sphere and lifted it carefully with all four hands. Simply touch the surface. If you're truly human as you claim, nothing will happen. If you're an unawakened Voidwalker, the device will activate and begin showing you star charts to other sacred sites. Marcus reached out and placed his palm against the metal surface. Immediately, The sphere began glowing with the same intense light as the detection device. Energy coursed through his body, and suddenly his mind was filled with images and sensations that seemed to come from somewhere beyond his conscious memory. He saw the galaxy as it had existed 50,000 years ago, vibrant and full of life. He felt the hunger of his ancient ancestors, their need to consume and grow stronger. The power was intoxicating, offering abilities that defied natural law and the means to survive anything the universe could offer. But alongside the alien memories, Marcus also experienced something the ancient Voidwalkers had apparently never possessed. He felt love for his daughter, grief for her loss, and determination to honor her memory by building something better than what had come before. The human emotions seemed to act as a buffer against the consuming hunger that had driven his ancestors to destroy entire civilizations. "I can feel it," Marcus said, his voice strained with the effort of maintaining control. "The desire to take what I need to grow stronger by consuming others. But I also feel something else. The choice to reject that path." Princess Zixandra watched in fascination as the sphere's light began changing color, shifting from the harsh white associated with Voidwalker technology to something softer and more complex. The device is responding differently than our historical records indicate. The energy patterns are evolving in real time. Marcus focused on his memories of Emma, on the colony they had tried to build on Kepler 442b, and on the future he wanted humanity to create among the stars. The hunger for power and consumption gradually faded, replaced by something that felt more genuinely human. The awakening is incomplete, he realized, opening his eyes to meet Princess Zixandra's gaze. "I can access some of the ancient abilities, but the destructive compulsion isn't taking hold. It's like having a powerful tool without the obsession to misuse it." The princess moved closer, studying both Marcus and the still glowing sphere. "This is unprecedented. According to every historical record, Voidwalker awakening was an irreversible process that inevitably led to planetary consumption. But you seem to be consciously choosing a different path." Marcus carefully removed his hand from the sphere, and the device's glow faded to a soft, steady light that seemed almost peaceful. Maybe that's what evolution really means. Not just adapting to survive, but developing the wisdom to choose how to use that survival ability. Princess Zixandra moved to her communication console, but instead of activating emergency protocols, she began recording a message. "I need to contact the other Alliance members, but not to declare a threat. This discovery changes everything we thought we knew about Voidwalker nature and human potential." Over the following hours, representatives from dozens of species gathered at Crossroads Station for an emergency session. Marcus found himself at the center of the most important diplomatic discussion in galactic history, explaining humanity's origins while demonstrating their evolution beyond their ancient nature. The debate was intense and often hostile. Several species argued for immediate military action against human colonies, while others proposed strict monitoring and containment protocols. But Princess Zixandra's evidence of Marcus's controlled awakening gradually shifted the conversation toward possibilities rather than threats. Ambassador Rodriguez joined the discussions, her diplomatic skills proving crucial in navigating the complex political implications of humanity's revealed heritage. Together, she and Marcus proposed the establishment of a new kind of galactic alliance, one based on cooperation and mutual growth rather than fear and suppression. "Humanity accepts responsibility for our ancestors' actions," Marcus declared, before the assembled representatives. "We also commit to proving that evolution has given us the wisdom to choose a better path. We propose the formation of joint exploration teams, shared archaeological research, and transparent monitoring of human colonies near sacred sites." The final agreement took 3 days to negotiate. Humanity would be granted provisional membership in the galactic community, with the understanding that they would work alongside other species to explore their Voidwalker heritage safely. Archaeological sites would be studied jointly, with human intuition for ancient technology balanced by alien wisdom about its dangers. Princess Zixandra became the first official liaison between humanity and the broader Galactic Alliance, working with Marcus to establish protocols that would allow humans to understand their nature while preventing the catastrophic awakening that had destroyed civilizations 50,000 years earlier. As Marcus prepared to return to Earth with news that would forever change humanity's understanding of their place in the universe, he reflected on the strange journey that had brought him to this moment. A simple diplomatic dinner had become the key to unlocking humanity's greatest secret and their path toward a better future. The tattoo on his shoulder, created to honor his daughter's memory, had become a symbol of humanity's choice to transcend their dark heritage. Emma's innocent drawings had bridged the gap between ancient fear and modern hope, proving that even the most dangerous legacy could be transformed through wisdom, compassion, and the courage to choose evolution over instinct. Marcus smiled as he thought about the challenges ahead. Humanity had a lot to learn about their origins and abilities, but for the first time in 50,000 years, the galaxy could look toward a future where ancient enemies might become trusted allies.